This is a test for the Blayney Shire Council October Council meeting. The time is now 6:02 and we will start the council meeting in about 30 seconds time. Good evening. Welcome to the October Blayney Shire Council meeting, with the time being 6:03. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting, that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Blayney Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording will also be made and published on the council YouTube channel. Now to an acknowledgement of country. And Blayney Shire Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri people and recognises the strength, resilience and capacity of Aboriginal people in this land. Council celebrates the diversity of Aboriginal people and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of the Blayney Shire. As all the councillors are here, so there are no apologies or applications for video attendance. To the disclosures of interest, and councillors are reminded of their oath or affirmation of office made under section 233A of the Local Government Act and their obligations under the council's code of conduct to disclose and appropriately manage conflicts of interest. General Manager, are there any disclosures this evening?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We have three declarations of conflict of interest. The first being Councillor Dorset, report title Financial Assistance Committee Meeting Minutes, item 13, page 90. The reason for the interest is the Blayney Shire Local and Family History Group is a recipient of the funding of which Councillor Dorset is Vice President of. The interest is non-pecuniary, less than significant. However, Councillor Dorset is electing to leave the room for that item. The second is also Councillor Dorset, report title Development Assessment Report, item 16, page 106. The reason for the interest is her son is the applicant of a pending subdivision. It is non-pecuniary, less than significant. However, Councillor Dorset is electing to leave the room for this item. The final declaration is Councillor Newstead, report title DA 2025/008, Centre-Based Childcare and Subdivision, item 17, page 113. The reason for the interest is his nephew owns the other childcare centre in Millthorpe. It's a non-pecuniary interest, less than significant. However, Councillor Newstead is electing to leave the room for this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting General Manager, and I should note. Thank you, Acting General Manager, and I should note that Jacob Hogan is acting as the General Manager tonight. The General Manager, Mark Dicker, is on leave at this point in time. To the mayoral minutes tonight, and there are three mayoral minutes. Two of them are late items. So one is in the business paper at the front and the other two are a late attachment. So to item number one, mayoral minute update on the McPhillamys project at Kings Plains. A recommendation that I'm moving as the Mayor that Council notes the latest update on the McPhillamys project at Kings Plains. Given that I'm moving it as a mayoral minute, there is no need for a seconder. Councillors, any questions or comments with regard to this report, which is an email correspondence of an update from the McPhillamys from Wayne Taylor, who's the project director for McPhillamys. Councillors, are there any questions? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. To the second mayoral minute, which is item number 21, listed as number 21, Balobular Water Security Project shortlist of potential projects or options for those projects. There's a recommendation there, which is a mayoral minute, that council note the 3 shortlisted options and provides feedback on the future business developments in the Shire. I, as the Mayor, am moving it as a mayoral minute, and given it's a mayoral minute, we do not need a seconder. Councillors, any questions or comments? Councillor, Dorset.
Yes, is it possible to get that recommendation changed to reflect? It says that there are 3 shortlisted options, but I have 4 on my paperwork, as I'm sure you all do too.
So to clarify, to answer, they were the 4 original options, as in if you read the attachment, it actually highlights that they've shortlisted down to 3 options. So it was a good question, as in there were originally 4, now there are 3. The options being increasing the capacity of Lake Rowlands, so roughly doubling the capacity, to undertake a pipeline between Lake Rowlands and Carcoar Dam to transfer up to 2 gigalitres, or a combination of both the pipeline and the raising of the wall. Well, Councillor Dorset?
Yes, further to that, yesterday I'm confident all the other councillors would have received it. We received advice from the Balobular River. I've put the water group. The Balobular Water Security Project, and it still has the 4 options listed in that. So I'm confused in as much as which one.
So the latest media release, to update councillors, last, I think it was Wednesday, the Acting General Manager and myself attended a video hookup with some other mayors from across the region. At that, I think it was about 3/4 of an hour meeting via Teams, they disclosed that that they'd actually brought them down to 3, and that media release or media statement, which is the attachment in the business papers in the late items, titled Central West invited to give further input into Balobular Water Security Project, is where those 3 options are actually listed. So tomorrow in Blayney at 9 a.m, there is a community drop-in session. So if you've got questions or you want to find out more details, here in the community centre, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So you can ask further questions or you can provide further feedback at that point in time.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Councillor Scott, sorry, I've had a mental block for a tick. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Scott.
There we go. Just through you, Mr. Mayor, in relation to this report, I note the minute, however, I do wonder, do we have any indication, because I'm sure many of the community would want to know, whether anything's actually going to come of this project at the moment, because we've been hearing about this very similar plan since the late 90s of increasing the dam wall, doing the pipeline. There was a talk of an extra dam 2.5 kilometres from Blayney. There's even reference to it on the Central Tablelands Water website. Have we got any indication that you know of that this plan is at any point coming to fruition, or is it just, again, let's get some more comments on this from the powers that be?
To add to that, $7.7 million in cost. And that question was asked, and actually I did ask, as in where this was heading, when we would get a final benefit cost analysis to actually progress it during the Teams meeting. And I was told, okay, by mid next year you will have that, then you've got to go out and find the funding for the project. Whatever project we come up with, or projects, so it could be a combination of the pipeline and raising the dam wall, or just a pipeline. But whatever project you come up with, you have to actually go out and then find the funding. The positive is that we are in the run-up to a state election, which will be March the year after. So from a lobbying point of view, that may be to the advantage of Central Tablelands Water, but it does impact on Blayney, and this is why I put it up to the council meeting tonight, because it will have an impact on our community, on our future growth, and on our water needs, but it'll also impact on Orange, it'll impact on Cabon, as in a number of the towns, so Canowindra and Manildra, I think are two that extract, plus Grenfell, and there are other locations, maybe Woodstock in Shire also extracts water from the system, but there is also a pipeline into Orange, which I think can take about 8 megalitres a day, maybe less. Councillor Goswich is shaking his head, but do you have an actual answer on that?
No, they don't take anything at the moment. That's for an emergency, but they're hopefully in the future maybe.
I believe there is an agreement now, though, that they can
That's correct.
take water in an emergency situation. So anyway, there is another water study just to complicate it further with Cabon, Orange and Central Tablelands Water. And I sit on that committee, which is through the joint organisation as an independent councillor, so as an independent mayor. And that's looking at a separate study on drought proofing all three sort of areas, so Central Tablelands Water, Cabon, so that's Molong, Cumnock in the Oval, and also Orange City, as well as Central Tablelands Water. So there's a lot out there. It's a very good question to ask, Councillor Scott.
I just have concerns, given, as you said, one of the things is we're coming into a state election, and that should be great for funding. We've had quite a few of those in 25 years. It seems like this just keeps getting kicked down the road, or it's the magical unicorn of dam walls at the moment. And
the joint organisation, as in Meredith McPherson, had the same questions again of, are we just reinventing the wheel for about the 5th time? So fully concur. We're trying to progress forward. We're trying to push, and I did actually push for, when are you going to have the final business case so that then we can go and actually lobby? And they assured me mid next year. But if you look at their time frame on the website, they're running behind again. So who knows? Councillor Newstead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a board member on CTW, I've been, and Councillor Goswich have been quite involved in this. We had a meeting with DQ, or whatever you want to call them, and I asked a lot of questions. And the thing here about a new pipeline being built from Lake Rowlands to Carcoar Dam won't happen without the raising of the wall. Now, and I asked a question about the 7.7 million. I said to them, why is it costing 7.7 million to do a business case? And they couldn't really answer me. And what we were concerned about originally was that they were more concerned about irrigation and Carcoar Dam more so than town water security. So I did not raise my voice, but I was quite passionate about the fact that it should be more about raising the wall, because without raising the wall, they're not going to get any water from Central Tablelands. I'm telling you now. So anyway, that's and like Councillor Scott said, it's been going on for a long time, and my fear is that they're going to, and we've spent a lot of money on it already, like the government. There's been other studies and everything like that. So, you know, $7.7 million could have gone a long way towards building a new wall. Like, it's going to cost a lot of money, but you know, that could have been part of it. So I'm really concerned too that they're just going to keep talking about it and it'll get pushed down the road and we'll never see it happen. But anyway, that's just my comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And it was also brought up about urban water security, as in, and again, I think it was Meredith McPherson who actually discussed that issue and trying to highlight that this just can't be for irrigators. It has to be also looking at domestic consumption for people in the community. So that was taken on board and was highlighted strongly, may I say, during that Teams meeting. One further question?
Yes, thanks, Mr. The other thing too, like the pipeline's supposed to be a two-way pipeline. I can't ever see Carcoar Dam putting more water back into Lake Rowlands, because when Lake Rowlands is low, Carcoar Dam's nearly empty. And it may happen, but I just can't see it, you know. Thank you.
Maybe you'd like to go along tomorrow, but I think you've got another meeting and you may have a meeting with them as well. So I'll try and pop in tomorrow morning and outline that here from a council point of view as well. So thank you for your feedback. Any other councillors with comments or questions with regard to this mayoral minute, which has seen a lot of discussion? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. The final mayoral minute, number 3, Millthorpe Junior Soccer Club, New South Wales Community Club of the Year. Recommendation that Council notes the achievement of the Millthorpe Junior Soccer Club in being awarded the New South Wales Football Community Club of the Year. As it's a mayoral minute, I will move it from the chair. I don't need a seconder. Councillors, any comments or discussions? If not, I'd just like to congratulate Millthorpe Junior Soccer. I think that's the second award that they've taken out, and to get the community club for junior soccer is a fantastic achievement. Very proud of the club is very proud that it's achieved a lot, and if you read there in the report, membership is up. I think it was 11%, if my memory is yes, 11%. And they're also girls in soccer has also blossomed. And I do also hear, and this is not the junior, as in with the senior soccer, I think they had 3 senior teams plus a senior women's team. So 3 senior men's and 1 senior women's team this year. So as in, and hopefully in Blayney that we're seeing a similar sort of outcome as well. So soccer is very strong across Blayney Shire at the moment. Anyway, if there are no questions or comments, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Move back to the business paper, to item number 2, minutes of the previous council meeting. Do I have a mover? Councillor Goswich, Councillor Hutchings. Councillors, any comments or issues or with the business, with the last so that was carried. To the quarterly outstanding resolutions report. Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Newstead, Councillor Goswich. Councillors, any discussion with regard to outstanding resolutions? Sorry, Councillor Newstead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just on page number 18, the community energy upgrade funding application, I was just wondering if there's been any further news on that one at all.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we haven't received any correspondence, but we're expecting project announcements in November.
And I do understand Newmont has been asking about how we're going because they have provided $500,000 towards this project. We haven't received the money yet, but they do want to, I believe, clear it off their books before the end of their financial year, which is December 31st. So Council will, and I think there's possibly going to be a recommendation come back to the November meeting, either way, if we're successful or unsuccessful on how we progress that particular project. Any other questions from the councillors? Because I do have one. If not, through the General Manager to the Director of Planning with regard to waste management services, has the tender for the new waste management contract actually gone out yet, Director?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, not as yet.
Thank you. And I think that's all. If no one else has got any other questions. So do I have a mover and a seconder, didn't I? I think yes, Newstead and Goswich. So all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 4. This is the Australia Day Committee. What I will do here is ask for a mover and a seconder. Then we'll discuss the appointment of Councillor X, whoever Councillor X is. So do I have a mover? So Councillor Scott, do I have a seconder? Councillor Goswich. Okay, councillors. Now that I've got those, do I have a councillor that would like to come on? Councillor Newstead, are you interested? Okay. I don't think we need a mover and a seconder for a position, but are there any other councillors? Because we could have an election if there is a second councillor that would like to come onto that committee. Doesn't appear to be any other councillors that are expressing an interest. Okay, so now that we have Councillor Newstead as part 3, the appointment of Councillor Newstead to the Blayney Shire Council Australia Day Committee, do I have any discussion with regard to the 3 parts to the recommendation? As there is silence, sorry, Councillor Goswich.
We may need to make a recommendation that we either vote each year for the councillor or it's for the term of council, being that we do change council every 4 years.
So you're suggesting an amendment to for the
To your
Australia
point.
Day Committee for the term of this council?
Yes.
So 3 extra words or 4 extra words?
Yep.
5 extra words.
Yep. I'm happy with that.
Are you okay? So the mover and seconder, Councillor Scott, you fine with that? And Councillor Goswich, you seconded it anyway?
I'm very.
So any further discussion or amendments to the recommendation? If not, all in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We now move to the audited financial statements. We do have the Audit Office and also, so we have Katie Henry, Principal from Intentus Chartered Accountants, and Farusha Ali, the Associate Director for Financial Audit with the New South Wales Audit Office with us today. What I will do is move the recommendation, then we'll go into the presentation on the financials, then the councillors can have ask any questions, then we can have any discussion amongst the councillors, then we'll move to resolve either a favour or against the recommendation. So for a start, do I have a mover for the report? So Councillor Newstead has moved that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goswich. So I'll now hand over, I believe it's to Katie Henry, who's actually going to give us a presentation.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I thought the light was on. If you click on go from beginning, does that work? Oh, right.
We're just having a few technical challenges with the presentation. Hopefully that will work shortly. So please bear with us if you are viewing online.
Okay, I think we're right. Excellent. Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors, council executive. Thank you for the invitation to come and present our report on the conduct of the audit for Blayney Shire Council tonight. Farisha from the Audit Office and Marvik from Intentus join me online, and tonight I'll be taking you through the results of our 2025 financial statement audit, the audit work program for 2025 to 2028 from the Audit Office, and focus areas for the upcoming local government sector report, the financial results and analysis for council, and key infrastructure and cash management insights for Blayney Council. This agenda just outlines the topics we'll cover: the Audit Office's audit work program for 2025 to 2028, the focus areas for 2024 to 2025 local government sector report, the report on the conduct of the audit, the financial results and analysis for council, and the cash and investment details, the infrastructure assets overview, and finally there'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end. However, do feel free to pop your hand up and ask me questions along the way as well. So the work the Audit Office performs is not only on the financial statements audits, but also performance audits. They report these to Parliament. The performance audits assess whether the activities of government entities are carried out effectively, economically, efficiently, and in compliance with relevant laws. The Audit Office's annual work plan for 2025 to 2028 was released in August 2025. The work plan explains how they decide what to focus on and what they intend to cover during that 3-year period. This 3-year plan gets updated annually by the Auditor General and can be revised along the way. If you'd like more information on it or would like to subscribe, you can do so by subscribing to the website, and you'll get updates automatically. So the 2025-2026 key themes for their audit work program are efficiency and optimal use of public resources, grants administration, major capital projects, climate-related risks and opportunities, and First Nations communities. This is running through those topics for the financial audits. So we've got financial reporting, financial sustainability, internal controls, governance, with the planned performance audits, they're looking at long-term financial planning, the effectiveness of AREX, performance management and monitoring, major capital projects, climate risk and adaptation, and waste management. The focus areas for the local government sector report include financial audit outcomes, financial sustainability, IT, cybersecurity and AI, major projects, and internal controls and governance. I'll now turn to our report on the conduct of the audit. We've completed our audit of the general purpose financial statements and the special purpose financial statements. I'm pleased to report to you today that we issued a clean audit opinion for Council's financial statements for the year ending 30 June 2025. This means that the financial statements contain no material misstatements and present fairly. The Office of Local Government's Code sets out what needs to be covered by the report on the conduct of the audit. Now looking at your income statement. Rates and annual charges revenue increased by 1.1 million to 14.1 million due to the special rate variation increase of 10% and offset by a small decrease in the pensioner rate subsidies. Grants and contributions revenue decreased by 8.3 million in 2024-2025, mainly due to 6.2 million decrease in special purpose grants and non-developer contributions. This is largely due to a decrease of 5.7 million in revenue received under the Roads and Bridges funding in 2024-2025. a decrease of $500,000 in developer contributions, and also receiving 50% of the financial assistance grants for 25-26 in advance, compared to receiving 85% of 24-25 in prior year in advance. The operating result from continuing operations, Council has reported a positive operating result of $6 million for the year ended 30 June 2025. This was $7.9 million lower than last year, and much of this decrease was due to the capital grants and contributions, which decreased from $13.2 million to $5.9 million in 2025. This was partially offset by a $0.6 million increase in depreciation, amortisation and impairment of non-financial assets due to the prior year indexation applied to Council's fair value of their assets. After deducting capital grants and contributions, you can see the bottom line there, the net operating result before capital grants and contributions reduced to $0.1 million, which is a decrease of $0.6 million from prior year. This shows that without capital grants and contributions, Council is only just making a profit. The operating result, this shows how much revenue exceeds expenses for Council. The Council's operating result has declined and is $6 million for 2024-25. When capital contributions are removed, it's $0.1 million. This result is driven by higher depreciation, it's up 6.9% this year, and lower capital grants and contributions, down 55.3% this year. This is a summary of the grants and contributions revenue, a split between operating and capital. And you can see that the operating grants have decreased. The reason for this is due to the federal assistance grant receipts that I mentioned before, receiving 50% of the 25-26 in advance this year compared to 85% in advance being received in last year's. The capital grants have decreased due to special purpose grants and contributions decreasing. This is largely due to a decrease of $5.7 million in the roads and bridges funding in 24-25. The unrestricted current ratio, you can see in the graph there that it's increased year on year slightly for Blayney Shire Council. At 30 June 2025, Council's unrestricted current assets are 7.8 times the current liabilities, excluding specific purpose liabilities. The audit officer's done some averaging for the different types of rural councils. I don't know if you notice the change in the graphs slightly this year, but you can see there the average for rural councils, which is what Blayney Shire Council is classified, for 23-24 was 5.6 times. So Blayney Shire Council is above average in relation to this ratio. Now we'll take a look at the cash position. Council has total cash and investments of $33.5 million. This increased from $33 million in prior year. This year, $14.6 million is externally restricted. The external restrictions mainly consist of developer contributions, sewer fund restrictions, and specific purpose unexpended grants. At 30 June 2025, Council reported a positive cash and investment balance after external restrictions of $18.9 million. It was $14.7 million in 2024. A compliance risk for councils is breaching legislation by using externally restricted funds for an inappropriate purchase. Council needs effective controls to manage externally restricted funds and prevent non-compliance and all financial difficulties. This graph shows what the externally restricted cash and cash equivalents were predominantly made up of at 30 June 2025. So Council's main sources of externally restricted cash and cash equivalents included specific purpose unexpended grants in liabilities of 1.1 million, which decreased by 4.1 million, mainly due to the decrease I mentioned previously in capital grants. Sewer charges of 6.8 million, which increased by 0.2 million, and developer contributions of 4 million, which increased by 0.3 million. Excuse me. Other externally restricted cash equivalents comprise of voluntary planning agreements and domestic waste management. The combined balance has remained static year on year. This graph shows Council's liquidity. So Council's liquidity refers to its ability to meet its short-term financial obligations effectively. Cash and investments in this graph is excluding externally restricted balances, as they're not freely available to meet obligations. As a result, Council's increase in the number of months of general fund expenses, an increase in the number of months of general fund expenses Council can meet with available cash. At 30 June 2025, this was 17.3 months. Council has a strong liquidity position and is well above the average for rural councils in 23-24, which was 8 months. Now taking a look at your IPP&E. This graph shows the breakup of the additions that Council spent on your IPP&E over 30 June, the financial year 30 June 2025. So in summary, Council's renewal and new assets additions were represented by 7.7 million in IPP&E during 24-25 financial year, which was mainly spent on roads, bridges and sewer mains, capital work in progress work. A further 3.2 million was spent on new assets, including 1.7 million on new plant and equipment. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Anton, Tiffany and the finance team for their cooperation during the conduct of our audit. Their financials were well prepared with appropriate supporting documentation. As a result, there were minimal adjustments made to the financial statements, and this makes for a very smooth audit process, which we're very grateful for. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Councillors, any questions of Katie or Farusha? Councillor Goswich, you have a question?
Thank you. Thank you for your report.
Yes.
I suppose the more we, as it showed, the more we fix our roads, our higher depreciation costs go.
Yes.
So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is a double-edged sword.
And I don't think people understand that in the community.
Probably not. Depreciation is not well understood as a whole.
Yep.
But you're right. As the value of your assets increase, so does your depreciation expense.
Yep. And that's what's hurt us in the last couple of years. Our depreciation costs have gone up
Yes.
because we are fixing things.
Yes, yes. And this year you had a roads revaluation,
Yeah.
which actually saw a decrement go through for the roads revaluation. So that's sort of showing that indexation over the last 5 years has increased the value of the assets on an annual basis instead of you seeing a big hit on your 5th year. So hopefully you won't see a exponential jump on your depreciation next year, which ordinarily you used to when there was the 5-year gap between your roads revaluations.
Yep.
Because you'd see a large jump on that 5th year in the value, and then the following year you'd see a corresponding jump on your depreciation expense.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
With that decrease or decrement, that will flow through to next financial year, though, which is the current financial year. It wasn't actually taken into account, my understanding, in the previous this financial year that you've just audited.
So it's taken into consideration on the value of the asset, but it doesn't impact the depreciation until the following year. That's correct.
And also with regard to depreciation, again, from a council point of view, we actually use that cash flow then for our capital projects. So to some extent, we're just as in circulating back around to actually undertake them. With regard to, there were some other areas of the audit, and I don't know if you can go back to the original slide, but outside, and you've provided a financial presentation, but with the other areas of the audit, did you find anything there that was of interest to the governing body?
We didn't note any material audit adjustments. Is that what you're referring to? Like I think
there was, as in, with regard to the
I'll
audit
come back.
schedule, there were other, so it was one of your first slides.
Was that in relation to the audit office?
So this one here or the one before on what was to be, so
In the local
for the
government sector?
24-25 local government sector, then the next page. So there was IT, cybersecurity, major projects, financial sustainability. Was that, so would that be more to Farusha to answer, or did you do that as part of the audit?
We do that on behalf of the audit office as well. So this area is what we call the data collection questionnaires, which I sit with Anton and Tiffany to go through them. And it's really, it is quite overarching. It's not, I guess it's specific to Blayney Council, but Blayney Council is not named, and none of the councils are named in this report to Parliament. It's used to get statistical information to then present to Parliament on the industry as a whole. So I guess in answer to your question, Mr. Mayor, if there are any deficiencies that we see as part of these questions, we will raise them as management letter points in our management letter to council. And from memory, I think we had one management letter point just in relation to some of the internal procedures, but it was a very low risk item, and it's nothing of any concern in the context of the financial statements audit.
Thank you. But a follow-on question, again, statistically, and I suppose you, Farusha, can't give us a broad answer, but from financial sustainability, which was the second, so once you've done the audit, as in, and you did say some of the ratios, etc., and some of them are in the financial report. But I assume you found we were fairly financially sustainable, or as in with the report.
Yes.
And we will find out probably early next year how we stand against some of the others when it comes to, I suppose, cash position or...
Yes, I'm not entirely sure, and Farusha probably doesn't know yet either, because the report to Parliament wouldn't be drafted yet as to what format that's going to look like. But yes, I guess the questions on the financial sustainability and the data collection revolved around what was included in your long-term financial plan, whether it was submitted in the correct timeframes, whether it had enough scenarios in it, things like that. So it's going to be a benchmarking exercise to see what all other councils are doing in their long-term financial plan, and you'll be able to see where Blayney's long-term financial plan format and the information that's included in it rates against other councils.
That will be an interesting exercise, but I dare say a lot of information, given
Yes.
there's 130, is it 7 or 8 councils in the state
Yes.
to try and benchmark, but still. So that's where that information will go, though, with regard to financial sustainability in the medium to
Yes.
long term, and then we can come back and look how councils of our size, and it may be grouped, I assume.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it is helpful how the Audit Office has categorised councils this year. So, you know, in the past when we've done those ratios, there's been like a benchmark line on the graphs to show what the OLG benchmark was, and that was just across all councils, so metropolitan, rural, regional councils. So it wasn't overly helpful for rural councils. So to have that rural benchmark in there now, I think brings a lot more meaning to your ratios, to see that you're well above them, other like-sized councils. The other thing that I did want to mention was I've had, it's not formal information, but I've had informal information that there aren't very many councils that have lodged. You know, we've still got until the end of October, 31 October, and I understand there's about 17 as of yesterday that have been lodged. So Blayney's effort of being lodged early in October is quite an astounding result.
Great to hear, and fully endorse your comments too with regard to Tiffany and Anton and the rest of the finance team on the effort that they've put in to get them early, because it is a big effort, and to get the information to you as the auditor in a timely manner. So yeah, our staff should be congratulated, and a big thank you to yourself and to the audit office as well. Councillors, any other questions or comments with regard to Katie or Farisha? And did you have anything to add, Farisha?
Thank you, Mayor. With the report, it will be published early next year, the local government report. And as Katie mentioned, there's still audits that is ongoing until 31 October, and there are some extensions as well. So there will be a bit of analysis, but it will come out in the sustainability will be covered as part of the local government Auditor General's report, which will be most likely released in early part of next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any other questions of Katie? Well, thank you to both of you for your presentation tonight and for undertaking the audit. As in, normally you don't like to thank as in someone to look at you, but it's good to see that you've done an in-depth analysis of this council, and this council is looking reasonably good. And we'll wait for the benchmarking to have a look at how we compare against other councils, but moving forward that we can see some light at the end of the tunnel, and with the long-term financial plan, going on assumptions, and being an economist, assumptions are always, for every council, as in that there can be challenges, but on the current assumptions that we should be trading in the black moving forward after another year or two. So yeah, but thank you very much for your presentation tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillors, any other discussion with regard to this recommendation? And the recommendation is that we do have a mover and a seconder, Newstead and Goswich, that Council adopt the 24-25 financial statements and accept the auditor's report as submitted by the New South Wales Audit Office. So any other discussion, comments, questions? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. To item number 6 in the business paper, the annual report of Council. A recommendation there, councillors. Do I have a mover? Councillor Newstead has moved that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goswich. Councillors, discussion about the annual report, which is provided as an attachment in the business paper. Quite a long annual report. Any questions or discussions about the annual report? If not, I'd just like to make one comment to thank the staff, because it is quite a comprehensive document. It takes a long time to put together, and we do appreciate the staff's input in compiling this extensive document, and it is done on an annual basis. So if there are no further comments or questions, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. To item number 7. Report on Council's investments as of the 30th of September 2025. Do I have a mover? Councillor Scott, Councillor Goswich. Councillors, any comments or discussion with regard to our financial position, with regard to cash position? If not, I'll just make one very brief comment that if you look at the graph, we're tracking very, very close to our position last year with the amount of cash that we do have. And when you look at as Katie Henry said, with regard to financial assistance grants that were only provided 50% up front rather than the 85%, we are probably either equal or on par or slightly above, because those financial assistance grants, the other The 35% will actually come in through this financial year, we hope, to boost our cash position as the financial year goes, whereas we got that big upfront 85% in the previous financial year, so that's back 2 financial years ago, which put us in a better cash position last financial year in tracking. If not, any further discussion? All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 8, Code of Conduct complaints for the reporting period. Councillors, do I have a mover? Councillor Scott has moved that. Councillor Hutchings has seconded that. Do I have any comment? Councillor Goswich.
Thank you, Mayor Reynolds. As much as I'd like to see no code of complaint, no code of conduct complaints, we did better than a neighbouring council who had 188, with 19 going to reviews. So, you know, as much as I'd like to see none, I think we're going pretty well as a council and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goswich. Any other discussion on this item? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 9, disclosures of interest by councillors and designated persons. Quite a long report here with the senior management and all the councillors' disclosures. Do I have a mover to the recommendation? Councillor Newstead has moved that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goswich. Councillors, discussion with regard to disclosures of interest. If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 10, draft code of meeting practice. Quite a controversial issue across all of local government in New South Wales. Councillors, do I have a mover? Councillor Goswich and Councillor Newstead. Councillors, discussion or questions with regard to this item. Councillor Newstead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is a bit controversial, the inability to have briefings before council meetings and even to an extent our workshops, I think is going to limit the availability of information to us. I'm a bit concerned about that. I find the workshops very informative, but it says that we can still ask the General Manager for the information anyway, so I'm a bit baffled as to why we still can't have briefings beforehand. They're not compulsory. Not every councillor comes. Some of us do. Yeah, so I just, between yourself and maybe the acting General Manager, where do you think we stand as far as the, especially our workshops going forward? Because I'd hate to lose them completely. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll probably go through the Acting General Manager and maybe also to the Director, but the Acting General Manager might like to make a comment for a start.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, we're still seeking some guidance on this. It won't take place until January 2026. I guess the executive staff and Mayor will ensure that councillors have all the information required to undertake their governance duties. So we will have to work out a way to ensure that you have all information available to you.
I don't know if the Director wants to add anything. No. And I will just add too, and I did sit in on a Teams meeting, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, with the OLG, so Office of Local Government, and they were very much of the opinion, as in if councillors do have questions, so the business paper comes out, you, Councillor Newstead, for example, have a question about an item in the business paper, and it could be about this draft code of meeting practice. You put your question in writing through to the General Manager. The General Manager or the Director or Manager then has to write in a response. That has to be provided as a supplementary paper to the business paper. It's going to create, my biggest concern here, it's going to create a huge extra workload to the staff trying to answer those questions that have to be put in writing. And it was stipulated that there has to be a written report back. So there will be more than likely a late business paper if you've got questions outside of the questions you ask in the council meeting. So you could hold that question to the council meeting. But if it's on a planning matter, this is where it gets very, very controversial, I suppose you could say, because if we move to defer a planning matter, for example, to the next council meeting because of lack of information or something else that you want to go for an inspection or something like that, we can't actually discuss it because it then is in part of the directives from the Office of Local Government. So this has come from the Minister, is that you cannot be briefed as a council group on anything that may come up to a future council meeting. So it's not just the next council meeting, it's also a future council meeting. So there's a lot of issues to work around. But again, and having input into like the annual report or the community strategic plan or the budget, etc., how can councillors actually have that input into the next, the budget, for example, rather than the staff just presenting a document to go, here, take it. And we as a council body do have a large amount of input currently. But because that item will come up to council, we're not allowed to talk about it. So hopefully there will be some middle ground where we can have some form of gathering to look at strategic planning or something like that with regard to items like the financial plans, etc. for this council. That's just one of numerous plans, right through to this meeting code. Under the code, we couldn't actually meet beforehand to discuss what we would like in or out, as in there were some parts that were non-mandatory, but mostly mandatory, or if we wanted anything extra added. Technically, it would have been to come back to this council meeting, spend 2 hours discussing what you wanted in, out, and how we went about doing that. So that's going to mean probably a lot longer council meetings than what we have previously had, but there is a lot of unknown, and as the Acting General Manager indicated, we're still trying to seek clarification on what we can and can't do as a governing body, but this will take place from the 1st of January, so there is still a couple more months where the current system will be maintained. So Councillor Newstead, a supplementary?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So if there's enough pushback against it, this new code, do you think the OLG or the Minister will maybe change things a bit to suit, or is he steadfast?
I think the answer, Councillor Newstead, is no. As in the briefing that we had again was what the Minister had indicated, as in the person that gave the presentation was pretty well speaking or paraphrasing of what the Minister had indicated and told that individual that we must do. So it's again finding a workable solution so that we can, on some of the major things, can have an input before they come up to council. Otherwise it's going to be very long council meetings that could go well into the early hours of the next morning, even though under this meeting code I think it's 9 o'clock that we actually conclude the council meeting with a potential extension of half an hour is now the new, I think it's half an hour, it's 9 o'clock, isn't it, Director? Yep. So we have tried to put into the meeting code some parameters, but that means that we may have to defer council meetings or defer business of council meetings if there is a long discussion on a lot of the items because councillors don't have any background information before they come into the chamber. Councillor Dorset.
Yes, thank you. My concern is, yes, it may be inconvenient, and yes, there will be a lot to get our head around with it, with operating in different ways, and I appreciate the extra staff, working load for the staff, but as I'm sure I'm not alone, I'm hoping I speak on behalf of all the councillors here, as long as it's completely transparent and that transparency is maintained for the public is my biggest concern.
And there are, just as a side issue, and transparency is very important, and that's what the Minister so wholeheartedly understand, and that's what the Minister wants, is improved transparency. But there is also still going to be commercial and confidence areas, so there will be still some areas that we have to discuss in camera or in closed council that will take place. So again, we're still working through how this is going to work. We're not alone. Every council across the state has the same issue. I'm going to Sydney for a meeting on Friday with some fellow mayors, and I expect this will be the hottest topic in that discussion, and those mayors are from Sydney and regional areas. So it's going to be until the 1st of January. There's going to be and after that time there'll still probably be a fair bit of settling in on how it's going to work. So we don't have ultimate answers, but we do have a fair bit of information that we're trying to accommodate to still try and get a good outcome for the community, and that's the most important thing, is that we represent the community and we try and get positive outcomes for our community, no matter how we operate. And if we have to have much longer council meetings, so be it. Councillors, any other questions or comments with regard to this very contentious issue? Councillor Johnston. Your mic's not on.
Yep. With the revelations in the Herald about Bayside Council and the Minister's involvement thereof, is there any chance that the Minister may be replaced before we have to worry about this? Talk about transparency.
I'm not going to make a comment with regard to anything that was in the media, but there are organisations in New South Wales that do look at those things seriously. We'll leave it to those organisations, but at this stage we have a current minister, we have the draft code that we're now looking to put out for public exhibition, so community can feedback on that draft code, by the way. So there's 42 days to actually provide feedback, which is there in the reason for the report. But there is a base or a minimum. So you can add extra things, but you can't subtract on what is mandatory in this code. And it is a mandatory code. So we can't pull back, but we can actually make it higher. So the high jump bar can even be higher, but it is pretty high at the moment under what's presented to us. And we've got to work with what the Office of Local Government has provided to us, which is what the Minister wanted with regard to the meeting code. Councillor Scott.
First time. Just on from what Councillor Dorset said, I'm also for transparency. However, I'm also for efficiency, and I think the community would understand too that with this extra workload that it will create for staff, that will also incur extra costs for this council that we're going to need to do. So I would encourage, when the draft code does go on exhibition, that people have a good look at it and provide their feedback, so that we can, it may be a futile attempt, but at least get some information back to the Minister as to how we all feel about this code.
And don't worry, as in myself, general managers, as in our general manager, even the acting general manager, have been trying to provide feedback during that video hookup, the Teams meeting, as in they only had a chat room. You couldn't actually talk verbally, so you had to actually put written comments. So it was to some extent controlled, and I do recall the acting general manager did put in a question or a comment, and it was ignored. So we have tried, Councillor Scott, to provide feedback on just making it a workable document, and our council workable. And that's the thing. We want to make it workable to achieve those outcomes for our community, and that's really important. So hopefully there is some middle ground that we can find, that we can still come together on issues like the budget or community strategic plan, or some of these codes that are going to come to council to actually develop, so that we can then, or for reviews, and we're doing an ARIC review at the moment, for example, which will be completed before the end of the calendar year. And we just tonight passed with regard to Australia Day, as in, because there's a resolution up, could the councillors have actually met beforehand to actually decide on how Australia Day was going to work? Can't actually answer that in the future on what we can and can't do, but hopefully there's some middle ground that we can do with this. Councillors, any other questions or comments?
Sorry, just
Scott?
as a
Yes.
clarification to that, my comments are not in regard to the efforts of this council or the council staff. It is, by futility, I mean the deaf ears that it seems to be falling on when comments are made, such as chat rooms where comments are just ignored, and the discourse is very much being controlled and not listened to, which seems to be slightly strange when we're trying to claim to be wanting transparency and everything else.
Different rules for different people may be the the case. So I won't make any further comments than that. Councillors, any other discussion with regard to this? And it's been a great discussion, may I say, on this matter. Any other comments or discussion? Councillor Hutchings, do you want to say anything? No? Okay, councillors, all in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 11, endorsement of council policies. There's a recommendation in two parts with the policy names. There's 2 for 5 policy names. Do I have a mover? Councillor Dorset and Councillor Scott. Councillors, discussion about these 5 policies and place them on public exhibition for 28 days. If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 12, impending vacancy, Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. Councillors, there's a recommendation in 2 parts, including the appointment of a new independent chair from next year. Councillors, do I have a mover? Councillor Newstead has moved that way. Councillor Goswich has seconded that. Councillors, any questions or comments with regard to this recommendation? If not, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 13, minutes of the Financial Assistance Committee meeting held on the 14th of October. We do have a declaration from Councillor Dorset, and she will be leaving the chamber. Councillors, there's 5 parts to the recommendation. Do I have a mover? Councillor Scott has moved. Councillor Newstead has seconded that. Councillors, questions or comments with regard to the Financial Assistance Committee funding? Councillor Goswich.
Thank you, Mayor Reynolds. The other one I've got a question on would be the Working Dog Challenge. It says that it's in its infancy. I know it's been going for 3 or 4 years, so I'm not quite sure I'm not on the committee, so I'm not quite sure, what was stated, but I mean, that's not infancy in my thing. I know it's changed from the showground. I just think we need to look at the wording sometimes in the future with these committees. Thank you.
And maybe the Financial Assistance Committee might look, as in for future, given it's stating infancy, whether it's 3 or 4 years that it's been operating, but this is at a different location, on whether it's still eligible moving forward, or whether funding is reduced, as in that may be a 50-50 contribution or something like that, but it's up to the Financial Committee if they get another application in 12 months' time to actually make a decision on that. But it is a great event. That I have actually been to twice to Carcoar to have a look for an hour or so. So yeah, it's great to bring into the council area. So councillors, any other questions or comments? Because I do have a couple, but Councillor Scott, do you want to make any comments on the recommendations? I was just going to make a comment with regard to the Country Education Foundation, and it's noted here that we actually get noted as a contributor to those 10 students. I'd like to try and highlight that maybe we actually get invited to when they present them, if they present them in Orange or wherever, and actually get a little bit more notoriety that the 10 students actually, or whether they'd look at coming and presenting them here at a council meeting or before a council meeting, similar to what we do with when we have a new citizen ceremony. But as if the director could potentially have a look to see whether we could have a little bit more involvement so that there is some form of acknowledgement with regard to for the council, given that it's a substantial amount of money, being $5,000. My second question, I think the director, you've taken that on note, director. Yep, thank you. Is in relation to the Torwood application. The committee, and this probably goes through to Deputy Mayor Scott, You've made a recommendation to get some more information about co-funding, etc. Was it your intent to hold off for 6 months, or that an application come back to council once that's been sorted out, and they either decide, to show co-funding or they don't have co-funding, but for council to make a decision on an application, or are you proposing to wait 6 months to the next round to them to resubmit or to submit this extra information?
I may have this the wrong way around. It was my understanding that we would look at it at the next Financial Assistance Committee meeting once the required information had been provided. It is a requirement for those flagship funding applications that there be at least 2 quotes. From memory, there was only one for that one, and there is a co-funding requirement as well. So it was deferred to the next meeting of the Financial Assistance Committee.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Scott. I think they were the only 2 questions I had with regard to that item. Councillor Goswich has asked his. Did you? Yes. So any other questions? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. We'll just wait for Councillor Dorset to re-enter the room. Item number 14, Infrastructure Services Monthly Report. There is a recommendation there. Councillors, do I have a mover? Councillor Goswich, Councillor Hutchings. Councillors, questions or comments with regard to an extensive report? Councillor Goswich.
Thank you, Mayor Reynolds. It's not on the actual report, but it's been on previous reports. I just wonder how Church Hill is progressing. I did notice we still haven't finished it, and a few people have commented on it.
Through to the Acting General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, a contract has been engaged for installation of a semi-permanent fencing solution, which will be in place until further funding is confirmed for stage 2. So installations booked of week commencing 10th of November, where the temporary fencing and sediment control fencing will be removed, and we will install this semi-permanent fencing.
Cool, thank you.
Probably a supplementary to the General Manager, given it's semi-permanent, will we be using some of that material for the permanent fence, or is there going to have to be another totally new fence?
Through you, Mr Mayor, these materials are already second-hand and surplus to Council's other needs, so the materials itself is at no cost.
Thank you. And just as a comment too, so for anyone that's interested in Church Hill, I think the next stage we're potentially looking at next financial year, and so next year's budget may come in, and there may be 3 stages in the end. We don't quite know yet. So besides the fencing, I think that's the end of stage 1, isn't it, Acting General Manager? And stage 2 will be at least sometime, maybe next financial year, but again, at this stage we haven't set a budget, so we don't particularly know whether that will or won't be. We have a mover and a seconder. Any further discussion with regard to the Infrastructure Director's reports? Because I do have one more question. Councillor Newstead.
Just quickly, Mr Mayor, through you to the Acting General Manager. It's good to see that they're actually getting a new bitumen emulsion tank replacement there. It's would have been pretty onerous on the staff having to travel to Orange to get the bitumen. I don't know how often they had to do it, but that'll be a good thing. Any idea when it'll be in place? Or?
Acting General Manager or Director? Acting Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it's got a 3 to 4 months lead time on construction, so we're still pulling emulsion from Orange, and so I anticipate that we'd have it early next year.
and it's probably a supplementary on that one before I ask my other question. I assume that's will improve our productivity, because I assume that we've got to pay for our staff to go into Orange and then come back out before they start doing patching.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It will improve productivity. As per the report, there's a few improvements listed there.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. And a question possibly to yourself or to the Acting Director. With regard to Richards Lane, is there any update on, it says here the 3rd of November, which is next Monday, I think, on the start of the major part of construction?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are still working on pre-construction documentation for the state road. I might pass to the acting director for an update on the local road portion.
Through the General Manager, we just had an update from the contractor this morning, and just given the delays with the documentation, because the local road portion and the state road portion are so integrated with the documentation and the contract, they've elected to delay commencement another week, so that'll be the 10th of November.
Thank you, Acting Director and Acting General Manager. Any other questions from this report? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 15, Land Acquisition, Yarrawambang Road, DP 1231139. Councillors, do I have a mover for these 4 parts to this recommendation? Councillor Scott has moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goswich. Councillors, discussion or questions on this recommendation? If not, I have one through to the Acting General Manager. Has this item come back up again? As in, I thought we'd resolved all of Yarrawambang Road. So is there an update on why it may have appeared again?
Through Mr. Mayor, we lodged, this is under previous council resolutions from 2016. We lodged a number of land transfers as bulk, and it was only recently brought to our attention that these 2 lots were not going to be accepted, despite notification of acceptance of the application, as they need to be brought under the Real Property Act.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. Any other questions? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 16, Development Assessment Report, and there is a declaration by Councillor Dorset, and she will be leaving the chamber. Councillor Dorset has now left the chamber. Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Scott has moved that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hutchings. Councillors, discussion or comments with regard to, firstly, what's been processed, and secondly, what's still there for processing? No comments. If not, I will make a quick comment, as in congratulations to the planning staff. A big effort, as in we have really wound down our small backlog, and there are 2 of the, I think it's about 18 or 19 tonight. There are 2 reports just to come next, so there will be a resolution of a large proportion of the delayed or backlog of applications, or time that it takes to process is probably a better term, because there's toing and froing back with the proponent, and backwards and forwards with questions, etc. I do have one that's in the register with regard to, and this is the last one, which is in regard to, what's it titled? 29 Park Street, which will be the oldest one outstanding tonight, which was in January of this year, that was lodged, I think, the 24th of January. To the Director, is there any substantive reason why that hasn't been moved forward as yet, or is it very controversial, or can you not say much about it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can say a little. I wouldn't say it's overly controversial. There's been changes to the plans since the application was originally lodged. There's been issues taken on board in terms of heritage. There's been some redesign done. There's been some staging proposed, which means there are certain aspects that have to comply for each stage in terms of accessibility. And I think now that it's on the right track, and it's heading in the right direction.
And just for clarification, this is the old, I think it's commercial hotel in Millthorpe where there is a DA in for, as in alterations, which it says here in the register. So just to clarify, but if that one is, that's our longest outstanding, which I said again is this year. Once that one's sorted, then you're coming through to June. Is the next one. So as in only a few months from lodgement, and a lot of them are, if you look at the previous one, a lot of them are being processed very, very quickly. So again, congratulations to the staff director. So could you pass that on to the planning staff, please? Councillors, any other comments? Councillor Newstead.
Yeah, just quickly through you, Mr Mayor, to the director. I notice it's still on here and it's been approved, but what's happening with the bowling club over the road?
Through the acting general manager to the director. Yep.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor, you said I can't really give an update in terms of the actual construction. I can give some basic sort of summary of some of the minor modifications which were held, which were things like changing construction materials of some stairs, some new fire reporting that had to get referred to the Fire and Rescue New South Wales. They all were quite minor, but I can't really give an update on the progress of the actual build.
So it's not ready.
Yep.
Sorry, Mr Mayor.
Go.
Through you. So it's not ready to be opened yet, or? Thank you.
No, I think what can be probably taken from it, the fact that there certainly was a lot of effort going into the matters that had to be modified. That certainly they were heading in the right direction in terms of construction, is the way I see it.
And just for clarification, this was in the list that was approved under delegation by staff that was approved on the 25th of the 9th with regard to, as you know, a large list for the 102-bed motel that is on the old bowling club site. So that was a modification. Any other questions with regard to the registers, both what's been approved and what's outstanding? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. We'll just get Councillor Dorset back into the room. So item number 17, Councillor Newstead has declared an interest, as in non-pecuniary, less than significant, but has said that he will be leaving the chamber, which he has now done. So this is a centre-based childcare, early learning education and subdivision boundary adjustment on lots 9 and 10 in DP 6146 99 Forest Reefs Road, Millthorpe. There are two parts to the recommendation, I think. Yes. And there are a number of recommendations within. Do I have a mover? Councillor Scott has moved that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hutchings. Councillors, discussion about this childcare centre. Councillor Goswich.
Thank you, Mayor, through the Director, I suppose. Was there any submissions for, against this proposal? It doesn't say it in the development.
Through the General Manager to the Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, there was one submission which on the proposal which expressed a number of concerns, which is outlined in the report, and the submission is actually attached in redacted form.
Oh, cool. I must have missed that bit. Thank you.
And I think, from my memory, one of there were some modifications with regard to the concerns of the neighbour with regard to soundproofing. So through the Acting General Manager to the Director, was that correct?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, that is correct. A number of issues raised, of course, were addressed in the application, or further information was sought. Also, there was a heritage issue which our heritage advisor became involved in, which involved some redesign. At the end of the day, the main issue I suppose that I had a concern with was to ensure that the acoustical requirements actually were based on the correct background levels and a noise goal, and primarily that's through the construction of an acoustic fence. And there are actually guidelines in place for that, and I thought it was necessary to place a condition on there to ensure that occurred.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions with regard to this development application for the childcare centre in Millthorpe? If not, I need to call for a division, so you need to please show your hands. So those for this recommendation, please say aye and raise your hands. I think it's unanimous. Against, there is no one, so it's unanimous. We'll get Councillor Newstead into the chamber again. We'll now move to item number 18, DA 2024-0063, detached dual occupancy and two-lot subdivision, 24 Knox Place in Millthorpe. There is a recommendation there, councillors. Do I have a mover? Councillor Goswich and Councillor Newstead. Councillors, discussion about this two-lot subdivision within Knox Place. There is no discussion. No. I'll just make one quick comment, as I was one of the councillors that was on the council when the subdivision was originally proposed, and I did have some issues with block size, but sort of, I suppose the horse is now bolted. The subdivision is being constructed. I would have liked to have seen some bigger, larger size backyards in some of the blocks. So the house and a number of the blocks on the, I think about 500 square metres, are quite small. You know, the house is quite large, so there is really very little yard at all. There's Redmond Oval and there's Mill Green, reasonably close by for families to play in, but these blocks, I believe, are slightly larger. I was in the subdivision, I think if my memory serves me right, they're about 600 square metres. Is that correct, through the General Manager to the Director? Each, yes. So they are a bit bigger than some of the other blocks, and given that this subdivision is already there, I will not be objecting tonight to the proposed subdivision within the subdivision. So are there any other comments or questions before? And again, we have to have a division, so please raise your hands when we go to vote. Those in favour? Aye. I think that's unanimous, or is Councillor Scott not? Yes. So every councillor has raised their hands in favour, so it was 7, so there was no one against, so it's carried. Item number 19, delegates' reports. Do I have a mover? Councillor Dorset has moved that way. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Newstead. Councillors, any discussion or questions? Councillor Dorset.
Yes, I read the report with much interest, and also a bit of concern and disappointment that as a delegate on this committee, I knew nothing about the meeting being on. Since I've been on council, I knew there was a meeting on the 11th of June, which I attended. The other two dates I had down for the meetings were the 13th of August and the 12th of November. The 13th of August obviously didn't occur. I didn't receive notification of anything on that either.
So I'll go through
I didn't know about this date.
So I'll go through the General Manager, but just to clarify, you're an alternate delegate. So
Yep.
as in I as the Mayor are the delegate, and I did attend the meeting there, but I'll go to the acting
Thank you,
General
Mr.
Manager.
Mayor. Look, Councillor Dorset, I apologise. These meetings are arranged and coordinated by the RFS, so we will pass on to to request you be invited to these, though it is noted that the alternate typically does not attend unless the delegate cannot. But we can certainly include you in all requests at RFS, include you in all requests for invitation. Thank you.
To the best of my knowledge, that was done at the 11th of June meeting, and
Thank you,
yeah,
Councillor
so-
Dorset. We'll clarify that with Canoblastone.
thank you, I would appreciate that.
And if my memory serves me right, I wasn't able to attend that meeting, and I actually asked if you were able to attend that particular meeting too. So, as the alternate delegate for, was that in Orange or wherever
was
it
it
was?
Cowra?
Cowra. And this meeting was at Cowra too, so I'm not quite sure why. The disappointing thing was with this meeting, there was myself and the acting general manager as the director for infrastructure. There were two Canoblast Zone staff members, and there was a representative from Orange City Council. And we went all the way to Cowra, and not one Cowra representative turned up. Now, the councillor delegate was an apology. He was, I think, out of the country or somewhere, as in unavailable, but no staff turned up either, which was disappointing given. And so there was actually a discussion to actually bring all these meetings back to the Canoblast Zone Fire Control Centre, where there has been a better attendance, particularly by group captains in the past.
Yes.
This was tried because they were hoping to get more people, and particularly from the individual councils, so Cowra in that instance. But I believe the next meeting will be held in Orange. And there may be a date in my calendar sometime in November. I cannot remember. There's also a Bushfire Management Committee meeting, and I chair that committee, and that's, I think, on the 19th, but I could be wrong on the date. It's sometime in mid to late November. I think you are also an alternate, so you're welcome to come along. We will let you know when we get an invite for the Bushfire Management Committee meeting, which is more government departmental representatives from forestry, from national parks, from Crown Lands, etc., and fire and rescue, police, etc. go to that one.
I appreciate there has been a changing of the guard with Brett Bowden moving on and retiring, and I know that at the 11th of June meeting he had expressed that he wanted to have as many of the delegates, whether they be alternate or full-on delegates, in attendance as possible, and that's when I was provided all the future dates.
Thank you. Any other comments? All in favour then of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Councillors, item number 20, which is confidential. So in accordance with the Local Government Act and the Government General Regulations 2021, in the opinion of the General Manager, the following businesses of a kind as referred to in section 10.2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a part of the meeting closed to the media and to the public. I assume there are no objections from the public gallery or councillors to move into, so we'll put a resolution to move into closed council. Do I have a mover? Councillor Goswich and Councillor Scott seconded that. So all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. We are back in open council. Council had one item of business in the confidential meeting report. The recommendation that was carried was that council note the report on the lease of part lot 24 DP 1288588, Blayney, Churchill, Blayney, to endorse execution of the 5x5 year lease of part lot 24 DP 1288588, Blayney, Churchill, Blayney, to Bathurst Broadcasters Proprietary Limited by the Mayor and the General Manager. That was moved by Councillor Goswich and seconded by Councillor Newstead. That was carried. That was the only business. Then we came back out of closed council. And so at 7:38 p.m, I declare this council meeting closed. Thank you for your attendance, and we look forward to seeing you in the November council meeting. Thank you and good night.